guys. Welcome from us from our Terrifica group. We are spread all over Europe. Unfortunately, we are not with you. We couldn't join you this time, but it's really a privilege as always to attend these conference even in this way. We can see throughout the program of the conference that climate topics are actually dominant in many ways, and that we are trying to tackle different aspects of it, although there are currently probably more urgent needs and more urgent issues which are collapsing and rapidly emerging all over the world. However, our approach and our methodology, our goals are a bit different, and we are truly glad that you want to listen to our presentations and to hear about our approach, but also we would like to inspire you, to initiate you to share your own findings, results, ideas, maybe some expectations, or even better experiences from your past endeavors. In that sense, I would like to invite you to share your thoughts with us through the chat box and to be open for any kind of suggestions and discussions that may come. As I said at the beginning, our group is quite diverse, meaning that we are not like a standard research project. Terrifica is Horizon 2020 projects, which is bringing together really a diverse group of institutions and partner organizations and external experts and associates who are more or less belonging to this quadruple helix model, meaning that we have internally all kinds of organizations from non-governmental to universities, to university associations, and to also public entities. We are as well covering the most part of Europe, from very far east to the very far west, from the Central Europe to the South Eastern Europe. And in that sense, we would like to share these ideas about climate issues and about how to integrate citizens into them, how to create new models and new activities based on citizens' inputs, and how to actually invite citizens to feel welcome and to contribute to all levels and all aspects of climate actions. At the same time, since we are funded through the Horizon 2020 framework, we are also trying to use existing practices and to apply methodologies like responsible research and innovation, who was one of the prominent segments of the Horizon Science Written for Society sub-program. But on the other hand, also we are looking at the Sustainable Development Goals created inside the United Nations, which is trying to do the same, but on the global scale. Our speakers today are coming from at least half of involved organizations, and we would start now with the coordinating institutions. The coordinating institution, this is Norbert Steinhaus, who is working at the Science Shop Bonn in Germany. Good morning, Bonn. Hope everything is well and fine there. Okay, so I would like to invite Norbert to give us initial introduction to the Terrifica structure and framework, and later on we can continue with our pilot region. Norbert, I would usually say the floor is yours, but unfortunately this time only the mic is yours. Please.
Yes, thank you, Lale, for the introduction. And I'm really sorry that we can only have eye contact through the camera and are not able to interact with people in the audience. So I hope this format will be sufficient for exchange and discussion later on, because climate change adaptation is nothing which can be done just online. It needs people. As Lale, as you said, that Terrifica is a Horizon 2020 project, and I will give you a short introduction into the ideas which led to the Terrifica project. So, Terrifica, of course, is an acronym, as the Commission expects. It has a specific thematic focus. That's why we are here. And the full name is Territorial Responsible Research and Innovation Fostering Innovative Climate Action. Nobody can say that more than 2 times in a row. So that's why we call it Terrifica. It's a 42 months project and expected to run until June 22. Maybe Corona will lead to an extension of the running time. This will have to be discussed with the Commission later on. The Commission definitely provided €2 million for the consortium to work on the issues I will describe now. The basic idea when writing the proposal, when thinking about activities, was there's no lack of information about climate change. There are discussions, of course, there are conflicts, there are different opinions, differing interpretations, but reliable information is available on all levels stakeholders may be interested in. The problem we identified is then as soon as you get into a discussion on climate change, it is lifted to a meta level where many people just drop off because they say this does not touch me. I'm not a scientist. I'm not interpreting millions of data sets. So this is something for the experts. Climate change doesn't affect me. So definitely what is lacking is practice. How can we arrange ourselves with the changing climate situation, and what can I do personally to do that? But of course, climate change effects are quite different all across Europe. The severity is different. The nature of climate impacts is different between the regions in Europe. And all these activities have to be taken at the regional or local levels. So that's why we combined and were able to create a consortium which runs across Europe. So our moderator here in the session coming from Serbia, reaching out to the Southeast European countries. We have a partner from Spain, presenting a bit later on, partner Sciences Citoyennes from France. We have 3 partners in Germany, 2 universities, and my own organization, Bonn Science Shop. We have a university from Poland. Joanna will present their pilot activities a bit later on, and a colleague and an organization coming from Belarus, Association for Education for Sustainable Development. So with this, we wanted to try to address different regions, of course, but also different problems in the different regions to get a more or less European coverage, but also a topic coverage in the project. Because each region or city has its own characteristics, and they can contribute to relevant aspects of the project landscape as a whole. But what they all have in common is the need for climate change adaptation or climate change mitigation. This is what brought us together. So what are we going to do in Terrifica? We are going to involve citizens in agenda setting processes, agenda setting in relation to climate change challenges. So Terrifica, in this sense, is a citizen science project. We want to develop climate change adaptation plans in the different pilot regions, and which hopefully will lead to institutional governance change. We will develop actions from these plans, test them and evaluate them. And of course, as Terrifica is related to responsible research and innovation, we want to make clear and visible that involving society into research and policy contexts has a benefit for all sides. So Terrifica, in fact, is running in 3 phases. The first phase is about getting the data, building up a knowledge base, because we want to use visualized climate data. We encourage participants to learn and participate. Of course, especially when addressing the responsible research and innovation cycle, it's not about talking to researchers. It's not about just talking to citizens. It's about the whole stakeholder group, the multi-stakeholder group, also addressing education, governance. And I always forget one of these. I'm sorry about that. The basic idea is to identify local or regional climate specifications and not just collect the data, but also provide time and space for reflection and discussing about the findings and discussing about the options of responsible research and innovation. From all 6 pilot regions in the first year, we were able to create some, let me say, basic documents of broader interest and broader use. Of course, we invited or we guide our teams in the different countries on how to go into engagement processes and how to run co-creation activities. But we also made a research on institutional framework conditions in the different pilot regions, in the different countries. How are climate actions embedded into governance structures? How is co-creation embedded? How is co-creation performed in these different regions? And this is written down in a case studies report, which shows about 20 case studies about co-creation and climate change, and giving good examples on from other than our pilot regions, what can be done, how it can be done, and what impact can be expected from these kind of engagement and co-creation activities. At the core of the activities, after the basic information collection, is we're going through a crowd mapping activity. So our partners from Poland developed a crowd mapping tool, a specific website where the people from the region are able to put a mark. This crowd mapping tool was developed in 7 local versions for the different regions. With 2 versions in Spain, in the Catalan region. But people are now able to identify local hotspots of climate change, can identify places where they, as citizens, can already experience climate change effects. So it might be a high temperature during summer. It might be the lack of fresh water. It might be flooding, it might be erosion, and all these effects are depending on the region where these marks are set. They are not only invited to put negative marks, they are also, participants are also invited to put positive marks and say, okay, here we have a facade greening, so this is a good effect to cool down the temperature in this specific place. The idea behind collecting these marks, besides providing reliable climate change data, is to invite people who leave the mark into working groups to really work hands-on to find a solution, to develop action plans to solve this specific micro-local problem. So that's the agenda setting process started through the mapping activity. So the crowd mapping focuses on topics that require the know-how of local people, to give scientific insights a face. The local knowledge is noted by the online tool. So people can put pictures, people identify, they recognize that something is happening at this specific place. After the identification of regional needs through putting a mark on the map, the data obtained by this crowd mapping will be combined with 3 data collections. And of course, as I said before, by providing their mark, the participants support the visualization of climate change information in a social robust way. The collected data will then be used to develop climate change adaptation opportunities. As you can imagine, Corona made it a bit difficult this year to collect this data. A lot of activities have been changed, information activities and involving activities had to be changed to online formats. And that probably will be a reason that the data collection period has to be a bit extended in this way. But I think you who are listening from the audience, in your projects and your activities, you will have made similar experiences. But anyway, these activities, of course, are open to all participants in the 6 pilot regions from Spain to Belarus and Serbia. But if you want to engage with these activities, but you're not living in one of the pilot regions, please get in contact with me as coordinator of the project or with the closest pilot region, and we can try to involve you, your knowledge and your experience in the further activities of the Terrifica project. In the second phase of the project, of course, which overlaps with the first one, we reflect about our own knowledge, about our stakeholders reflect about the knowledge they have on the topics of climate change adaptation. But then we will go into the next step and design future vision for a climate-friendly region, city, or a local place. Important, the exchange of knowledge between actors from civil society, science, and local government. This all is accompanied by customized training, by workshops, by reflection activities and field trips wherever possible. Of course, Corona is not easy, but makes it not easier in this context. In the last phase, of course, we will explore the possibilities and want to develop a future vision of a climatic landscape in 2030. We will exploit the possibilities of the suggested actions and will go and deliver future visions and methodologies and scenarios which can be or hopefully will be a blueprint for other regions. One of these activities is setting up roadmaps for the implementation of climate change adaptation activities. In all pilot regions and in all countries participating, the partners will organize summer schools to prepare scenarios that correspond to their competences and the local findings. These scenarios projected into the near future will be combined with what-if scenarios so that we can have a clearer look into the landscape of 2030. The results of these summer schools and the European summer school will feed into political discussion. But we are halfway in our Terrifica project, and from my understanding, I can already say, referring to the title of our presentation, bottom-up climate actions are no utopian structure at all. They work. We have a lot of people interested in these activities, participating in these activities. But of course, one core element is that public participation in the process of problem identification, or in the case of data provision and creating solutions, has to be followed by public inclusion in the implementation. So there's nothing better than involving people from the very beginning, from the agenda setting process up to the end of all thinking and putting them into, involve them into the implementation of activities they contributed to in the development phase. So from my side, thank you for your attention so far. If you have any questions, please send a message. We are happy to work with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Norbert, for this introduction. It was really detailed. Actually, you tackled so many important points that we want to foster here. You're belonging actually to Science Shop in Bonn, which is pioneering in many fields, and this citizen science approach is something that you are known by. So just tell me, are you satisfied with our performances so far, since we are not so experienced as practitioners in this field?
Lala, what can I say? No, compared to, so Bond Science Shop is active in international projects for 20 years now, and I've been participating and also coordinating a couple of projects, and I only can say this is an excellent team working in Terrifica. Your engagement, not only as a consortium member in the Terrifica project, but also with the stakeholders and the people you were able to involve in these activities is outstanding. Yeah. So this is yeah, compared to some other involvements I've been in, this is really outstanding, and which definitely shows the need and the necessity of becoming proactive in the field of climate change, especially thinking about climate change adaptation. I know that climate change adaptation is a critical term per se, because it somehow accepts the situation of climate change instead of changing the conditions. In general, it's adapting to what we already have changed on climate. But in my understanding, this is the only approach we can have to really involve many people in doing something, in saving water, in planting trees, in thinking about new traffic structures, in measures to improve air quality. And this starts on the local level, even on the micro local level, before it gets regional, national, or global.
Thanks for your kind words. Actually, I think we can easily identify that citizen science is truly gaining prominence across the globe, and it's somehow a forerunner of forthcoming Horizon Europe program. So from this general methodology, we are now trying to this piloting activities, meaning that we are offering, suggesting a methodology which was conceived at the beginning and well developed throughout the lifetime of our project so far. But then what is going on really in practice? Are the practices lacking across the Europe? We'll now present insights from 3 out of 6 pilot regions that are belonging to the Terrifica framework. So we are now going directly to Poznań in Poland. Good morning to you, Joanna, as well. Joanna Morawska is our partner from Adam Mickiewicz University, and she will now introduce us to the achievements, results, and goals of the Poznań pilot region. Joanna, please.
Good morning, Lala. Good morning, everybody. It's my great pleasure to present some of the results of the work of the team from Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań agglomeration. Just a few facts at the beginning. So Poznań is located in the west part of Poland. We are exactly in between Berlin and Warsaw. And Poznań is the capital of Wielkopolska Voivodeship, one of the 16 Polish regions. So our agglomeration includes the city of Poznań and 17 towns and communes. And the majority of them are rural or urban-rural communes. And it is also said that Poznań is a green city, is the 5th most populated city in Poland with over 540,000 inhabitants. What we can observe in our region is a very intensified process of suburbanization and dynamic spatial development that in fact results in many significant environmental changes and infrastructural changes. We also observe increased mobility of citizens and intensification of traffic. Poznań is a very vibrant, well-developed city with good economics, with high entrepreneurship rates. Well, let me just say that every fifth citizen is a student, and we have 8 public universities, Our university is the biggest one, and in fact it is one of the top 3 universities in Poland. So also our citizens claim that there are high standards of living in Poznań and in our agglomeration. But of course we are facing many also climate change challenges, and the most important threats include increase in average annual air temperature and intensification of the effect of urban heat islands. We also observe the increase in the frequency of extreme events like heat waves, cold waves, intensive rainfalls, associated flooding, winds and storms. And those phenomena are accompanied by an increase in low emission. This is a consequence, in fact, of, let's say, old type technologies on one hand, and on the another, it's connected to chaotic and very dynamic suburbanization process. So, in fact, in our region, we can talk about 3 most pressing problems and challenges. So this is air quality, and especially harmful effects of smoke on residents' health. The second one is water management in terms of water management and rainwater management, and spatial planning in terms of supporting investments in green infrastructures. So taking into account above all of those facts, we organized a co-creation team in our region. We invited to collaborate with us the representatives from almost all the sectors, so education, civil society organization, policy makers, business, including large one and small entities. And we were working with our co-creation team within our consultation workshops organized in Poznań, but also our partners were invited to a few meetings organized within Terrifica project. So we went together to Paris, to Belgrade, to Bonn to discuss the issues that are the focus of the Terrifica project. And when we talk about co-creation in our region, that refers to climate change mitigation and adaptation. We understand it as a kind of form of creative activities that are taking place in our regional innovation system. And we are talking about higher degree of involvement of stakeholders in the process of producing knowledge, delivering knowledge, transferring knowledge, but also defining and implementing activities, solutions, and projects related to climate change. And in our co-creation activities and team, we are looking for new approaches and new solutions that will enable us to build new collective partnerships between public and private stakeholders. So we are looking for new solutions implemented through innovation. So a first consultation workshop was mainly dedicated to such topics as what kind of knowledge, skills, and motivations are needed, and what kind of motivations are standing behind different stakeholders that will help them to be involved in climate actions. And during the second consultation workshop that was organized in online formats, unfortunately, we were mainly brainstorming about the crowd mapping tool, how it can be used, and how our partners can be involved in the process of crowd mapping. So, one of the nice ideas coming from those workshops was to organize Map the Climate Challenge in our region. But there are 2 main points, 2 messages. So we need to stress the power of change. So when we invite citizens and people to work with us, they need to believe that they will make a change. And the second, let's say, important information coming from those activities is that we need to use the place-based networks for collective impact. So there is a huge potential in already existing networks, but we need to reach to them and to engage in our activities. Here, just you can see the screenshot from their online Padlet format of online workshop. Apart from those consultation workshops, we were also doing some research. We were reviewing the ongoing projects related to climate change in the region, our climate change strategies, policy papers. We were interviewing stakeholders, and our aim was to look for needs for actions that will strengthen the co-creation process, so that will enhance drivers and limit the barriers in the co-creation. We were focusing on 3 realms, let's say, of those co-creation activities, like knowledge, values, and institutions. So hopefully our results will be published soon. But just to tell you the most important, let's say, findings, and this is not a surprise, I guess, that education first. So it doesn't matter what type of stakeholder, what kind of discussion we had, every time it was stressed that education is what matters. And it should be education dedicated to all the generations, and it's a lifelong learning education. So this is the first step, and the other finding was that we should put more attention to build a dialogue culture through the development of new channels of communication and using the language that is fully understood by different types of stakeholders and by citizens. And of course, this will lead to help to create coherent goals and strategies related to climate change. And what is also important, that we need to map and enhance social capital in our region. So we really need to know who is doing what and why, and what are the values standing behind the activities of citizens related to climate change. And for us as researchers, as university, it was also quite important that stakeholders stressed that there is a pressing need for science, for more facts and data, and for better engagement of scientists in climate change adaptation and mitigation process. So taking into account different suggestions and also taking into account the pandemic situation, we started crowd mapping tool promotion. And we decided to go only online, unfortunately, but we used different types of social media. As you can see here, we were working through different posts, but we were not only using, talking about our crowd mapping tool, but also we were trying to put attention to the ongoing problems, let's say, in our region, like floods that we had this year. In fact, the summer was quite cold and quite rainy this year. So we started the Map the Climate Challenge. We were using not only our institutional but also private accounts for promoting the tool. Our colleagues from the university, they prepared 2 movies. One is a kind of educational one, and it says about climate change challenges in the region, and the second one is dedicated to crowd mapping tool itself and Map the Climate Challenge. And they are available on the YouTube and our project website, unfortunately only in Polish for now. So we received hundreds of reactions, dozens of comments, and well, we can now show some preliminary results, first results, regarding the crowd mapping. I will skip this slide because Norbert already explained what is the aim of the tool. But let me just say that we are happy that we can observe that our activities of the promotion of crowd mapping brought some positive effects, because we can observe a kind of nice race of citizens registered and to the crowd mapping. So around 119 users from Poznań agglomeration for now. In terms of gender, little majority of female, but almost equal. In terms of age, we are happy that almost all the age group were involved in the crowd mapping activities. And so we have 84 points added to the map for now. And this is also quite good from our perspective. But let me just tell you about the first results. Well, what is interesting is that we have almost equal number of positive and negative locations indicated by the citizens. This is quite surprising because we Polish like to complain a lot, but it looks like this is not in case of climate change tool. So our citizens were also indicated the sites that we can in the future treat as, let's say, case studies. What we can also say from those results is that the points added to the map reflect exactly the problems that are identified by the research, by the science, and by the policy documents and strategies. So you can see that the air quality, the temperature, and the water is also a problem. Is a problem that the citizens put attention to. But this is just the beginning. We hope to continue. We are working on new formats of promotion, new formats of engaging the citizens in our region. So for sure we will continue. This is an ongoing process. And if you would like to ask some questions, you can get in touch with me and also with our team, and you will find contact information on the Terrifica website. So, thank you.
Many thanks, Joanna, to this really insightful introduction to the Poznan region in general. I'm impressed really what you achieved and the support you gained that you're getting from all sides. You mentioned that around 370 registered users you got so far. Are you satisfied with this result? Did you expect more? And what's your personal feeling about their reaction? Did you have a chance to maybe speak with people in your city?
Well, we have 119 users for Poznan agglomeration and around 400 for the whole project. Yes, we are satisfied with these results in terms that we can see that what we did in terms of promotion and getting in touch to the citizens worked. Of course, there is still a lot of work to do because, well, in fact, as I said, for sure, this pandemic situation made some impact on our activities, like in all the regions, especially that the university was closed, right? So we are missing the students, and we were really counting also on their support and their activities in our region. So this is what I can say. But like Norbert also said, this is just the beginning.
Yes.
And we are just looking forward to further collaboration.
Yeah, thanks for that. Actually, yes, you are totally right. We are not even in the middle. We have almost 2 more years for fulfilling our ideals and goals. So I'm not now going too far away from where I'm now in Belgrade. Our very own Marina Brkic from the Center for the Promotion of Science here in Belgrade will now share insights about the Belgrade pilot region in Serbia, who is actually partly also covering many countries across Southeast Europe. So, Marina, please, can you start?
Thank you. So, good morning from Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. For the beginning, I would like to give you some facts and figures about our city. So, Belgrade has the status of a separate territorial unit in Serbia, having its own autonomous city government. And according to the 2016 estimates, around 1,700,000 people live in 17 municipalities on this territory. Also, Belgrade presents one of the pilot regions in Terrifica project. And for the beginning, also, I would like to tell you a few words about the institution that me and Lale come from, and that is responsible for managing the project for our region. It is a Center for the Promotion of Science, or in short, CPN. CPN is a public institution established in 2010 by the Serbian Ministry of Science and charged with promoting science and technology. In accordance with its mandate, the center implements programs and activities by working with research and educational institutions in Serbia and around the world. CPN works closely with the ministries in the Serbian government, the media and private sector. As you can see on the map, CPN activities on this project run on the complete territory of the Republic of Serbia, but also due to the fact that climate change is more of a territorial issue, 6 neighboring countries are also involved through CPN activities, and those are Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Hungary, Montenegro, and Romania. And territorial aspect of climate change could be best understood through an example of extreme weather event that occurred in 2014 in Southeast Europe. Namely, deadly flooding that happened in May that year had hit severely Serbia, Croatia, and Bosnia, also as you can see on the map, and was felt in Montenegro too. And only in Serbia, the estimated damage was around 1.5 billion euros, and 1.6 million people were affected in certain way. This event also brought once again in the focus of the public topic of climate change, and since Belgrade was significantly affected, this event revealed several important issues related to better adaptation of our capital to climate change. Also, other different extreme weather events frequently affected Belgrade in the past and had serious and sometimes disastrous outcomes. Heat waves in the summer have serious impact on residents of Belgrade and are cause of numerous deaths and health issues. Also, droughts were somewhat less frequent and intense compared to heat waves, but also had consequences for the entire administrative territory of Belgrade. After the flooding, in 2015, the city of Belgrade adopted Climate Change Adaptation Action Plan with vulnerability assessment as a key document guiding the city of Belgrade climate change policy. In this document, flood protection and green infrastructure are listed of a highest priority. And also high priority is given to water resources such as construction of retention ponds, drainage, saving and reuse of water, as well as to heat islands in the city center. Concerning other policies, in Serbia, the law on climate change and climate strategy with action plan are still under adoption, and the strategy should actually establish both strategic and policy framework for climate action in Serbia in compliance with international obligations and pledges on greenhouse gas mitigation. And of course, in alignment with Paris Agreement and the EU accession process that Serbia is still part of. Also, in order to reach EU policy standards, many accompanying laws have been implemented, but unfortunately, the local administration lacks the capacity to follow. Related to global policies, the government of Serbia ratified the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 2001, and the main objective of the convention is to stabilize greenhouse gas concentration at a level that will prevent dangerous human-induced interference with the climate system. The Republic of Serbia belongs to a group of developing countries, so those are the countries that are non-Annex 1 parties, which report only on their actions to mitigate climate change and to adapt to changing climate conditions. For this, government of Serbia compiled its very first national report in 2010, and at the moment, third national communication report and second and biennial update report are under preparation. And what I wanted to highlight is that a part of our project team, I mean, the experts that we have on board through our co-creation team, and they're actually also engaged in the preparation of these documents. Since Serbia is a small country and the circle of experts dealing with climate change is rather narrow, but we are lucky to have these people with such expertise with us. And now I want a bit about our way so far. So in Belgrade pilot region, firstly, we actually started with the premise that fosters a co-creation and multi-stakeholder action in the region. We have created a creation team consisting of local experts, being representatives of Secretariat for Environmental Protection of the city of Belgrade, then representatives of Ministry of Science, Education and Technological Development, academic staff, the Institute of Meteorology, Faculty of Physics, from the Education and Technological of Urbanism, Faculty Lecture Board are from the University of Belgrade. Also, we included representatives of civil society organizations working in the field of and certain industry representatives. So first, we worked to prepare a consultational workshop, which was actually imagined as a space for dialogue, where around 50 careful chosen stakeholders from quadruple helix model were able to learn more about climate change, exchange their viewpoints, experiences, challenges and obstacles, and motivate to part in climate action within their field of action. Second part of the workshop was actually done so that we invited participants to think about ideal scenario on the following topics. So urban planning, water, urban infrastructure, education, information awareness raising, infrastructure. Participants given the activities of Belgrade to change. Of course, they have unlimited budget because of
Mariana, sorry to interrupt you. We are losing your sound from time to time. Yes. So
yeah,
if you can somehow stabilize your network, because we can't hear everything you are presenting.
Okay. I don't know what's happening. Wait. I'm not sure
maybe
how to do
just
that.
try with turn off the video and then.
Okay, sorry for this, because this is one of the obstacles when you're doing presentation from home. And I know that already that my network is just something that you can't control. So we are continuing. Besides, so what we understood and is that besides the fact that stakeholders were able to gain greater knowledge and information on different climate change related issues in the city of Belgrade, and also we have learned that most of the stakeholders believe that the only problem to start or engage in climate change adaptation and mitigation projects are related to lack of resources, meaning also human resources, and communication among interested parties. Almost all stakeholders also said that common good is one of the main drivers for climate action. So one more important finding from this workshop was that although we entered in Terrifica project with kind of a predefined idea that we would like to look more into what happened with water resources and the flooding, in our region, we have come to mutual understanding and conclusion that water issue means much more than flooding in Serbia. It also addresses problem of mini hydropower plants, which is a burning controversial issue in Southeast Europe, and also it raises the question of ownership of freshwater resources. Thus, not each and every stakeholder was willing to further participate in the dialogue on this topic, and I must admit this to you now. But however, this is actually a living lab project. So what happened is that we furthered our dialogue, and all of them agreed on the need to work on heat island problem in Belgrade. So, and this is actually a highly relevant question, since looking at the whole territory of the Republic of Serbia, Belgrade had the highest increase of average annual temperatures due to the urban heat island effect in last 50 years. Moreover, as already mentioned, heat waves in the summer seriously affect the entire administrative territory of Belgrade. And so we started our crowd mapping tool promotion campaign. Also, we were limited a bit because of Corona, but what we did is that we actually somehow wanted to focus on this hot weather and high temperatures. So we called our campaign Cool Down the City. And we invited citizens of Belgrade to, among other topics, of course, that they were proposed on the map and that they pin, to put more focus on temperature increase and pin the places in Belgrade where they feel subjectively well and unwell during high temperatures. So this is actually, as you can see, how our map looks like at the moment. And of course, what we expected is that people will pin also other topics, but specifically, they're putting more pins related to the temperature increase. And we can say that Belgrade citizens received well our call to contribute to the map. However, when we looked closer to the results, we realized that no one proposed any idea how to address pin issue. And we have found out, as you can see this red conglomeration, is that most frequent pin for very unpleasant feeling regarding hot weather is on our main square in Belgrade. And the main square was recently renovated, and most of the green infrastructure was actually removed from main square. So we then started our crowd mapping tool, again, promotion specifically on main square. And you can see here actually how everything is gray. So only green part is our small standpoint info point that we made for Terrifica. And actually we wanted to invite citizens to propose innovative solutions through whole month of August. There will be this Terrifica mobile info point, and passengers can talk to our team members and they can find out more about climate change related issues in our city. And we would like to inspire them through this action to look out for solutions and give us their innovative ideas. Then in October, we plan to organize another workshop with all relevant stakeholders present and try to develop local action plans in a co-creational method, not only for the main square, but for other relevant places on the map pinned by citizens. So finally, thank you. Oh, what happened now is that I moved. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, Lale, I give mic to you.
Thank you, Mariana. Thanks. Sorry, guys, for those technical issues, but you know, that's how we're living this whole year. Mariana, we just briefly also saw one major event that CPN organized in the House of Parliaments, which was Science Meets Parliaments, which was somehow a local kickoff event for the whole terrific event in a much wider surrounding and in a much wider frame. Do you believe that this event also give additional support for ideas and goals of the pilot region in Belgrade?
Yeah, I have to say that I think this was one of the most successful events so far that I attended. Not only because we organized it, but because I think that first all of our stakeholders, not only from Belgrade pilot region, but from other pilot regions that were present at the moment, they realized how serious we are and how we really want to address this issue also bottom up, but also to include policymakers and to try to bring all them together in a dialogue. So I really believe that these kind of events significantly contributed not only to our project, but to wider understanding of climate change issues, not only in the region, but globally in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. It was really fantastic event. First of all, because we're trying to tackle those up, although we are speaking about citizens and we are fully focused on them, actually, we have to share that message, to bring that message to a higher level, to involve others as well. Before going to our last pilot region now, I would just like to invite you guys in Trieste and around Europe, all over the globe, wherever you are, to use this opportunity to ask our speakers about some specific issues, or maybe to suggest us some local actions that we could connect ourselves to, or being able maybe to learn from their approaches. So from Southeast Europe, we are now going to Spain, to Catalonia, to Barcelona. Good morning to Marta. Marta, are you ready to present achievements and results of Barcelona? Please just turn on your and full screen mode, please.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, like this. Good. Hello. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, I'll be presenting the Metropolitan area of Barcelona, one of the pilot regions of the Terrifica project. Well, the team leading the activities in this region are the Association of Public Universities of Catalonia, and GUNI, and the Metropolitan area of Barcelona as well. And it's I will first explain a little bit the main features of this pilot region. The Metropolitan area in Catalonia, it's in northern Spain, and it's centered on the city of Barcelona. And the Metropolitan area occupies a strategic position in southern Europe, in the middle of the Mediterranean corridor that connects Spain with the rest of the continent. And this position has allowed it to become the center of Catalonia. And its territory includes different type of, different type of lands, developed and urbanized areas. They are marked in orange. Natural areas, they are marked in green, and agricultural areas marked in yellow. And there is also a big protected area that includes an agricultural park in Delta of Llobregat, 2 rivers, Llobregat and Besòs, and several kilometers of coast zones and 3 mountain ranges. And the Metropolitan area of Barcelona is home for 3.2 million people in a territory of about 600 square kilometers. And it's composed by the city of Barcelona, but also of 35 other municipalities. and it represents one of the largest metropolitan areas in Europe and occupies the 8th position in terms of population. And about half of the region is built land, and the rest is occupied by forests and agricultural and natural areas. And it is also the core of economic activity in the region of Barcelona, and it concentrates half of the production and workers in Catalonia. The main climate challenges of the metropolitan area of Barcelona are, first of all, an increase of temperature between 1.5 and 4 Celsius degrees, depending on the scenario. Moderate, according to the Paris Agreement, or pessimistic. And this will cause an increase of warm and torrid days. And what is more important, an increase of tropical and torrid nights. And it will have impacts on health, mainly on vulnerable population and on buildings, as well as economic effects. Another climate challenge will be changes in rainfall patterns. This will entail an increase of drought and water scarcity, along with an increase of fire risk. And another climate challenge is the rise of the sea level that produces an increase of flood risk as well. And this will mean less water availability and more demand. And in order to face these challenges, administrations of this pilot region, they have as target objectives carbon neutrality by 2050, an augmentation of renewable energies, and an increase of the adaptation and resilience in the territory. And the main initiatives on policies on which the metropolitan area of Barcelona is working on are the climate and energy plan that includes carbon and energy management strategy, climate change adaptation plan, also a metropolitan observatory for climate change that includes climate change experts from different organizations, an environmental education program called Sharing Our Future, the coordination of the Pact of Measures for Climate and Energy, and finally, some specific temperature studies. In terms of mitigation, the Climate and Energy Plan 2030 of this pilot region includes a carbon management strategy with 57 enterprises that offer services at the metropolitan level, and also a plan of energetic transition with photovoltaic panels on public buildings and solar powered charging stations. And in terms of adaptation, the Climate and Energy Plan provides different strategies and activities, as you can see in the slide, such as cooling centers in already existing buildings, parks and schools. Also the recovery of coastal dunes to protect the coast against the sea level rise, and on other activities related to environmental education addressed to primary and secondary schools. The co-creation team of this pilot region is led by Jakub, as I said before, together with the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and we count with the expertise of Kim Brugué from the University of Girona. And we have been running different activities since the beginning of our project, such as the launch of our local co-creation team with diversity of stakeholders and seminars focused on co-creation, climate action, and citizen science. And now we are working on disseminating the crowd mapping tool in order to collect personal experiences and opinions about local climate change in our pilot region. And well, this is a picture from above from our pilot region, and thank you for your attention. If you have any questions.
Many thanks, Marta, for your insight. I would just like to inform our audience that actually you are also leading internal communications throughout Terrific, and that your contribution is truly significant in sharing all our outputs and activities and framework, not only throughout the pilot regions and pilot institutions, but generally all over Europe and all over the globe. Are you satisfied with the responses we got so far? And also we are one of the most prestigious scientific conferences in Europe where Terrifica is presenting its approach. So this is also like a successful part of your activities as well.
Yes, as you said, here in ACUP, we are working with the communication of the project, not only in a regional level, but also in a more general scenario. And I'm very happy and satisfied with the results. I'm very grateful to see that there are so many projects similar to Terrifica, and that there are so many people concerned and working on adaptation and mitigation on climate change.
Yes.
So yeah, we are very happy with the project.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that. Let's then see about those audiences and those potential partners who are maybe active now at the moment. Please ask your questions. Now we would like to somehow restructure our interactive part. Originally it was planned to be presented in the form of a workshop, internal discussions in several groups. But now I'm giving floor again to our coordinator, Norbert in Bonn, who will now try to share with you some major questions and issues and the challenges that we are certainly facing throughout our activities and our approach, and maybe to gain some good recommendations from your side. We also got one question, but maybe we can keep that question for the very end of the session.
No, let's start with, I would suggest to go with the question first.
Okay.
Because otherwise we might get in struggle with the technical issues around
or with the time, because the time is running up as well. So yeah. It's about Libra Alliance. Who was speaking about Libra?
I'm not sure what this question is about. What is Libra Alliance?
Well, they are asking whether the alliance built throughout the Libra framework is sustainable after the end of the project. Maybe it's probably something about either our pilot regions or maybe some external associates of Terrific, and how maybe we are planning to keep it sustainable for the further use and maybe for some exploitation possibilities.
Sustainability of the project is built on the activities which run in the pilot regions. So all our consortium partners have invited a lot of local stakeholders, engaged them in collecting data, in mapping critical hotspots of climate change in their regions, started a reflection about knowledge with them, and in the next steps, of course, we'll go into the phase of trying to develop solutions for these specifically identified problems. Solutions will not be implemented within the project period, because some of these ideas to be worked on probably need a longer implementation phase, especially when you think about construction activities and all the law and regulations behind that. But our expectation is that through the commitment of the stakeholders invited to the process, and not only the commitment of civil society that they want to have something changed, but also the commitment of companies, the commitment of decision makers, that this process will continue and lead to the implementation. Of course, so this is the impact which will occur after the end of the project, what we expect as impact. Of course, the website will be online after the project, the websites with the mapping activities. So opening up the results of these mapping activities can be used in further initiatives even after the end of the project. And of course, the material that was produced, that background material, but also training material, is something which is not out of date after the project ends, but can be used as an inspiring resource for further activities also in other regions of Europe. And yeah,
maybe as well we can find maybe some alternative solutions how to continue with those efforts, because so far I think all pilot regions and probably you as coordinator are quite satisfied with this approach. And although Corona clearly stopped us for a while, actually the results so far are really positive, and giving support for maybe some additional activities or maybe some further development on, or using some additional segments.
And so of course, when you look into the Green Deal calls, which are will be opened at 18th of September, and the possible missions, or the mission on climate change and climate action in Horizon Europe. So climate change adaptation, climate change mitigation is high on the agenda in European activities, and therefore, of course, would be happy to continue with our activities and share our experience, and extend the regions we can work with.
Perfect. Let's then see what's high on the agenda of our audience here. You have prepared for us several Padlets. Can you maybe briefly introduce us for 15 more minutes?
Yes, I know this is a quite difficult thing now, and we will go through this one and see if it works. This session was suggested as an interactive session for an on-site event in Trieste, and this was submitted before Corona became urgent and led to these restrictions. So we were a bit disappointed that the structure now was more on presentations and chat questions, so that we were not able to get into real interaction with you. That's why we want to try, and this probably is a challenge for our technician here, in the last minutes to think about what could be done. Of course, we're running out of time, and therefore let's try to move on. As I said before, there's no lack of information about climate challenge. What lacking is practice. To get interactive, I prepared the 3 Padlets to ask for experiences, thoughts, and comments. The tool used is Padlet.com. I will post the links to the Padlets in the chat. I'm not sure if this is possible. Maybe Lale, you have to do that because you're linked to the general chat with the audience. Please post when you open up this link. You will have to leave, of course, this room. You will go to an internet site where these Padlets are prepared, and you have the possibility to write little cards and post them on the screen. I will share my screen so that everybody can read the posts you are doing. Let's give it a try in this context. We tried it before as engagement tool in smaller rounds with a more with a smaller technique behind a smaller audience. But let's see if it's work. Regarding the time, I generally wanted to go through 3 things: asking you what is feasible, ask you what is utopian in climate action, and ask you about your experiences. But for now, and because we are running out of time, I would just go to one of these Padlets and would like to ask you to contribute with your thoughts, be very utopian, be inspiring, be think beyond the box, think outside of the box, and just write down your craziest idea about citizens' involvement in climate action.
Norbert, I
Yes?
must interrupt you now. Sorry, unfortunately, there isn't any interactive chat option for me as a moderator or for us as the session. However, we can maybe try it in analog way, meaning that there are some people, we are informed, in the room in Trieste at the conference who are willing to communicate this mixed way with us, this hybrid way. So at least our session is hybrid, is staying hybrid because there are some people over there in Trieste. We also got another question from the audience. So before reading this question, actually, I would invite the audience in the room in Trieste maybe to think about Norbert's question about how to be utopian when dealing with climate issues from the perspective of citizens, integrated into research processes or maybe political decisions or co-creation. And actually, the second question is dealing exactly with that. Our guest in the audience, virtual audience, is writing that he or she is excited with the co-creation, inclusion, and citizen science approach in general, and it see at the first place as a cultural change. So the question is actually, would any of the pilot regions like to share any challenges about the resistance to this cultural change? How to present this whole process and context, and what we are facing on the opposite side? So not successful stories, but what is behind that. And also, do we have any, as a consortium, as individuals, as professionals, whoever wants to address that, do we have any recommendations for effective implementation of that cultural change, the change of our cultural behavior?
So who's in?
Who would like to speak about change of the culture? I don't know, maybe for our pilot regions, did you face before the similar approach? I know for Belgrade that we are just starting to introduce it through climate issues supported by the Terrifica. But what about Poznan and Barcelona? What are your achievements so far, and what are you actually facing on the ground when you're going into your communities, when you're presenting our framework and trying to invite them to open possibilities for citizens to be heard and to be directly involved throughout that process? Maybe Norbert, you're actually the most experienced, clearly, in this context. Would you like maybe to explain how this whole culture was growing, emerging in Germany while you were working in the science shop abroad?
Of course, this is a quite broad question, and I was just thinking about focusing on the challenges we had. But of course, yeah, so it has to do with the history of science shops. When they started, it was a growing awareness of environmental problems. And of course, these problems, starting with water quality, going through air quality, and of course, climate now and climate change, local climate situation has more attention now in Bonn, but also in Germany. And of course, what you of course can see is the Fridays for Future movement, which brought a lot of media attention to climate issues. If it will definitely, I think it's too early to talk about culture change. What I definitely can see is a grown awareness of issues around climate and climate problems, climate change effects, and yeah, well, I don't know the English word. I don't know if it's a straw fire which burns down very fast, but at least I see some reactions from the policy side to address issues raised through the different climate movements. Here in Bonn, we are not running a pilot activity in the Terrifica context, but we have a national project working on a similar topic, a collaboration between 3 different cities, Bonn included. There are climate action plans, there are climate advisory boards set up in cities. This is maybe even more than just a grown awareness. This is the idea of addressing the urgent problems of climate change. If we can already talk about the culture change, maybe under a small aspect, because people get more aware that climate change is not something that's happening in Bangladesh. It's not something happening in the Sahel zone. It's something which is happening in front of your front door. And this recognition, I think, is the first step towards a culture change. I don't know if this guy asking that from the audience sees it in a similar way, and maybe our colleagues from the pilot region have different opinions on that. So maybe you can drop in here.
Yeah, well, actually, from our local perspective here in Serbia, you know, the whole concept and the possibilities for its application were very difficult at the beginning. We were participating in similar events across Europe, but not locally. It wasn't something truly well rooted in the culture of Southeast Europe to be open for this kind of integrations. However, now in the last year or two, maybe we are now more aware of that concept and trying to implement it than ever. But I'm clearly more aware that there are similar events, similar happenings across the region. So actually it's coming slowly, not only related to climate issues, but since the climate issue is the major societal challenge of nowadays, except coronavirus. Once when corona disappears, then we'll put the climate things in the focus. But it's something which is really now gaining prominence, and I do believe that it's somehow a forerunner of maybe some new cultural traditions or new cultural movements in this sense. We all, Joanna maybe wants to add something from her perspective.
Yeah, just a few sentences, because it's indeed a very relevant question, and as we all know, the cultural change is, I think, the most difficult one. But what we have discovered when we were working with our stakeholders, but also doing some research, is, and this is also not a surprise, that it's the cultural change is strictly connected to the values, and they differ among different stakeholders, right? So people have different attitudes and values towards climate change. Climate change for business means something different than for let's say a teenager or 60-plus generation. So that is why I already mentioned in my presentation that we are looking for discovering those values, and then if we will be able to identify them, then we can also adapt a language, and this is a kind of fundament for a cultural change, also in terms of culture of collaboration in our region. So this is what we find very important, and our stakeholders mentioned about it very, very often, that the language is not adjusted to their needs. This is first of all, and well, second of all, if we want to build a kind of new type of culture of co-creation and collaboration in our region, we also need to really stress this power of change to citizens. We still observe that even if they are invited to the process, to some, I don't know, negotiations or policy paper preparations, they don't feel that their voice is heard. They feel like they are just observers or maybe complainers, but not really like having this opportunity to be active. And taking this into account, we really are looking forward to our Living Club activities in Terrifica project, that we will be able to work with citizens and to make them feel that they really are important and they can make a difference. Yeah, so maybe I'm not sure if I was
No. You really hit the correct point. Yeah, I think that's the middle. Norbert, would you also like to reflect on this, or we also got another question now, so maybe we can go.
Just to say that this new attention for citizen science and seeing it in a way of being more bottom up, I think this is a culture change in the relation between science and society. It took a long way. Yeah, so from science and society, science in society, science with and for society, all this. But at least from the German perspective, it more and more gets reflected in German activities, which in the end also means funding for activities which involve citizens. It's recognized in educational aspects. The only thing I'm concerned about is that it takes such a long time to get things changed. And therefore my wish is that with these let me say local activities and local implementations of solutions, we somehow shortcut the usual way of dealing with these kind of issues. Just to give you a picture of, maybe it's a bit out of, but when we started our first education on environmental issues in the early 90s, we had a poster in our classroom by a German artist called Klaus Steg, and it was a picture of a tropical island and a text below which says, "Why should I care about the Maldives? I then spent my holidays on Mallorca again." So it was a poster about rising sea level. Now with Corona, we see what happens to Mallorca. But anyway, this poster was written or was set up in the 80s and 90s of the last century, and we still face the same problems after such a long period. So we have been talking about this for 30 years now. So let's do our small job in our local environment with people who really want to do something in a small scale, and let's leave the meta level and be hands-on. Yeah, thank you.
Well, directly in relation to your observation and Joanna's comment, we have another question from a scientist who is a physicist, obviously, and he or she is asking how to deal with skepticism when it comes to citizen science and bottom-up actions. We detected here at the local level that, for instance, many public consultancies are such as superficial events where actually you can come and speak, but no one truly is listening to you. So how to address that, dealing with climate issues and generals, and how to persuade people that their stances and actions and determination could be taken into account and will be effective at the end throughout that process. How to share that message with common people, with laymen.
We're talking about the engagement process, and of course, an engagement process in a discussion or in a field of like climate change, where let me say the positions are often really black and white, and there's no gray zone in between. Multi-stakeholder engagement is a difficult dialogue and interaction process. It's nothing where you can work with people in an extremely short period. You have to build up trust, you have to listen, and you must be able to find compromises. Yeah, so to find a solution which everybody is able to accept. So there's no just political solution, there's no just environmental organizations solution. You have to find a way and find a point where you can meet, where you can deal with the first step of improvement of a situation. So it's about listening. It's about taking people serious to build up trust and commitment to the activities. This is, I think, a very tricky thing. A friend of mine said, You know, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. This is why you have to listen twice as much as you speak. And, I think this is really important when it comes to citizen engagement in any kind of field, not just in climate change and climate change mitigation.
Well, then the final message would be that we certainly should to be utopian and to hope that actually this approach or approaches alike are truly can fulfill our goals and ideas and wishes, and that they are relevant for the time that we are being for the 21st centuries and the challenges that we are aware of, or those that are instantly emerging, or maybe those that can be predicted in a way. That's why actually Terrifica is dealing with all those climate issues, those that are already happening, and we are trying to mitigate, to support, to enhance people to deal with those, but also to be able to predict future developments and to address those that can be adapted to from various perspectives.
Absolutely right. It's not only about repairing; it's also about developing visions.
Yeah. Thanks for that, and thanks for the audience. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your guys who are sitting now in Trieste, in our room where we're supposed to be with you. Now, unfortunately, we are all over Europe. I also just want to inform you that this is more or less a half of our consortium, and the 3 other pilot regions are in Western France, in the more or less northeastern Germany, and also in Belarus, in Minsk. So if you are belonging or have any relations with those territories, you can maybe join their local actions like ours here in Poznan, Belgrade, and Barcelona. Many thanks for your attention, and please, for your further reading on further involvement with Terrifica, visit our website terrifica.eu, and you can follow social networks where many important events are announced, and you can share, of course, your ideas. Thanks so much for your attention, and see you hopefully in sometime in some physical spaces. Bye.